the Come Together Hub podcast. I'm Nicola and I'm here with Matty and Cole today to have a discussion around positive attitudes in recovery. So guys, maybe Cole first. How do you keep a positive attitude in recovery?
Okay. I have learned from experience and by watching others that anything I want from recovery, whether it's a positive attitude, whether it's change, whether it's to feel differently, comes from action and me doing something. It's like if I'm suffering with low self-esteem and I want to improve my self-esteem, I need to do esteemable things that are going to improve my self-esteem, and it isn't going to come from wishing, wanting, hoping. I mean, I pray around that stuff, but following prayer needs to be action for everything. So if my attitude needs to be made more positive, I'll need to do something positive to feel more positive about the way I am within my life and within myself.
What kind of positive things can we do within recovery? Like what you say about actions? What actions can we do within recovery to stay positive? Loads of stuff.
There's loads of stuff, and I think that most of it goes against my own thinking because I'm naturally like negative, and human beings take away addiction. Human beings are more negative than positive by nature. So my first thought is usually always negative. Do you know what I mean? You know, like, so if I'm sat in a meeting, someone's opened the mouth, my first thought is negative towards them. It's like, you know what I mean, or it's always like negative. So I've got to establish that I suffer with an illness that centres in my mind, and it fuels that negative thought process. You know what I mean? And once I stop relying on that, then I'm naturally left with the only alternative to be more positive, you know what I mean, and just go. And I guess that's like what open-mindedness is about, do you know what I mean? Yeah. And then that follows into like other things. So like, I'll tell you what happened with me when I first got clean. Someone suggested to go and do some voluntary work, and I was like, fuck off. I ain't working for nothing, do you know what I mean? And eventually, because I had nothing else to do, because I'd exhausted all avenues in like keeping myself like busy, and I knew I was spiritually unwell, I've somehow become open to doing it, and it changed like my whole outcome on what I think about, do you know what I mean? And it become like a really positive force within my life.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And on the similar thing to that, you know, doing the positive thing, as well as a disease that's centered in my mind, it's rooted in self-centeredness. And that is where the discomfort and the disease and all the rest of it comes from. It comes from self-centeredness. So if I change my actions and start to be others-centered and God-centered, then I will feel less of that self-centeredness that I need to. The positive things I have to do don't always have to be about me. In fact, when they're not about me, I get more from doing positive things. If I do something positively for somebody else, move away from a self-centeredness and start to think of others more and more and more, which is a chore, I've got to admit. It doesn't come naturally.
Yeah.
If I start to think about others and doing things for other people and being there for other people, then my attitude will shift and it will change, and I will start to feel more at ease within myself.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's about, is there such a thing in recovery as selflessness? Does it exist?
Debatable.
Because I know when I'm being selfless, sometimes the motivating force for me being selfless is to get out myself because I'm uncomfortable. So there's still that selfishness within there. Within the selflessness, there is still the selfishness.
Yeah.
So is there such a thing? I mean, that's a whole other podcast, isn't it? Is there such a thing as selflessness in recovery? But I will benefit from being selfless.
Yeah. I think it's hard, like, for me, I think what actually is a positive attitude, you know what I mean? Like what is an attitude? Like, is it an action? Is it something that I have to like cultivate in my mind? Is it, for me, it's like my perception. Like, at the end of the day, nothing like in this world is going to be all positive, because what I've learned is like life is going to come in in recovery, and it will literally like get you to the ground sometimes where you're not going to pick up, you know what I mean, but the feelings are so intense that I've struggled to put a positive attitude, but I haven't struggled to have a positive perception on something if I've got other addicts around me that can help me with that, because the reality is I can't do that on my own. If you leave me to my perception, because I'm guided by my emotions, I put myself in a position where it's like I can't see straight, I can't see, and that's why like a sponsor, having like people around me is so important, because when I can't always have a positive attitude, because I'm human, I need people around me like to be able to give me that. That's invaluable to me.
I think that thing as well is once you recognise how negative you're at, you can learn how to tell yourself, kind of. We talk about that, don't we? And there's a card just
Tell
today.
yourself.
Tell yourself. So it's like tell yourself it might be different. You know what I mean? Because I'm a fucking black belt at predicting the future.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like in my head.
Yeah.
You know, like in my head I know how it's gonna turn, and it's usually negative. You know what I mean? And once I recognise how negative I am, and it allows me to go, well, maybe. So this is what happened to me, about my attitude, and I've shared about this a lot. So like when I started taking heroin as a young lad, like I knew people got addicted to it, and my attitude was, it won't get me. I mean, that was my attitude. It was nothing else. It was an attitude that I am somehow different. And then when I first come into the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous, and people talked about the message of NA, which is an addict, any addict can stop using, lose the desire to use, and find a new way of life. My attitude was the same. Not me. It won't get me.
Yeah.
So when I
Or
start,
it won't work for me, you know?
And it talks about it in our literature that, like, these are the things that need to change, is my attitude and my ideas. So my idea is, I act out my ideas of who I am. So I have an idea of who I am, and so if I have an idea that I'm a negative person, I will act them out. You know what I mean? And once I change my attitudes and my ideas, I can start to act out more positive. I know you know this. It's like, you know, when you go to somewhere, wherever, and you see someone who you just fucking detest, and they go morning, and you don't go fuck off, you go morning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm acting out the idea that I want to be more positive, I want to be a nicer person, you know what I mean? And the more we act out these ideas, I can see these in the background going, are you on about me? No, I'm not about you, Joe. You know, like, so the more we act out these ideas, the more it changes our attitudes, you know what I mean? Because it's like, actually, this is a better way of living this.
And something I've just picked up on that, I think it matters so much who you surround yourself with.
100%.
It really matters. I mean, there's a saying, I can't think what it is, you know, show me your crowd, I'll show you yourself in the future.
Show me your friends and I'll show you who you are.
Recovery has given me the blessing and the opportunity to have choices. And I get to decide who I spend my time with today. And I'll help people if they need help who aren't my kind of people, because, you know, I'm kind of duty bound in my thinking to do that. But who I choose to spend time with and who I would, it's massive for me. You know, I will surgically remove people from my life. And I do. And I consciously do it. And I can do it with love, I can do it with kindness. But I will make sure that the people I choose to be around are the people who I want to be like.
Well, they said, don't they, that we are the sum of the 5 people we surround ourselves with. And I learnt something, this is probably another discussion, but I learnt something about like human behaviour and the reasons why we have white in our eyes. So it's like, they reckon that the reasons we have the white in our eyes is so that I can watch what you're watching. Do you know what I mean? Because we're social beings, you know what I mean? And it's like, because I mimic people. People say, "Oh, just be yourself." It's like, no, I don't want to be. You know, like I want to have my own personality, but it's the sum of the 5 people to surround myself with, and it comes into that. They call it the 95% law of conformity. You know what I mean? So I will just conform to whatever I'm around. We say, there's a saying in NA that gets bantered about. You sit in the barber shop long enough, you get your hair cut. You know what I mean? And that's exactly what it means. It's like, if I surround myself with 5 people who are fucking using drugs, you know what I mean? Whether I want to use or not, I will use. You know, if I surround myself with 5 people who are getting on in their lives and the successful or the humorous and the this and that and the other, I will become the sum of that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'll get a little bit of you and a little bit of you and a little bit, just a little bit of you, Josh. And a bit, you know what I mean? And it becomes that. That's what it becomes. This is the prodigy behind the camera, by the way. This is my next task to help him.
Good luck with that.
You've got blood, really.
I pick up the pieces.
Short and sweet. Thank you, guys. We're going to continue more discussions next week, but thanks for checking in, guys. Do like and subscribe and share, and give us some feedback. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Cheers, guys.